Hello, Mason Storm here. I'm all for getting cheap cuts of meat and cooking them in exotic ways to get the best out of them. Today we're going to be braising some steak. So I have half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper powder, some garlic that I just minced up, my cheap steaks, and some broth. I'm using chicken broth today. I was out of beef, but you can use any type of broth for this. Our first step is to get some color on our meat. So we get our pan out, nice hot skillet. Add a little bit of butter there after a couple minutes and it should sizzle away like crazy, and that's how you know it's nice and hot. And then we're simply going to add our steak. And my steak here is not the thickest thing in the world, so I'm only going to cook it for about a minute each side, and that'll be enough to get some good color on the meat. After our minute's up, we do a quick flip and we get some color on the other side. And now once we get to our second minute, just because these are so thin, these steaks, but you want to get good color on your meat, we're going to pour in our broth. Now this is the simplest way I know of doing braising, and it really works out as being quite tasty. So we'll also add in our garlic and our cayenne pepper at this point as well. If you don't like spicy stuff, leave out the cayenne. Braising is amazing for making tough cuts of meat super tender. In order to do this, we're going to lower the temperature, and we're going to cook this for an incredibly long amount of time. You can cover it if you want, that prevents the moisture from escaping, but you want kind of a gentle simmer. And we're just going to let that simmer away there for about an hour or so. If your cut's a bit thicker, you might want to do longer. But it should be fork tender by the end of this, and we're just going to let that simmer away for a very long amount of time. I should mention too that when you're adding the water to do this, you don't want to completely submerge it. We're not boiling it, we're braising it. So you kind of fill up the water till it mostly covers the meat. Eventually it will finish and it will be done, and it will be nice and tender. So now we can just serve that up. I'm just going to have mine with some beans and fried bread, and all is good. So if you got a cheap cut of meat, I highly recommend this method. I think it's quite tasty and delicious. If you got any tips for ways you want to soup it up a little bit, leave them in the comments below. If you like my content, please like and subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome.